Ethan.
I guess first things first, say your names for the camera, what you guys do, and I guess how old you are, where you're from.
Well, we're not from here. I'm from a small town in Ontario, Canada. My name is Heather. I'm Victoria's mom, and I'm 55.
And I'm Alan, I'm Victoria's dad. I'm 61, gonna be 62, and I'm from Montreal, Canada originally. I'm Victoria's dad.
My name's Karen Genesi. I am 60 years old. I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. Moved to Maryland in my 20s. I'm a community school facilitator and in the public school system.
Oh, I'm Yvonne Rivers, and I worked with Victoria starting when she was 14, get ready to turn 15. So I've been with her 14 years.
How you know her?
So my name's Aaron, Thoms-Chesley. I'm 25, gonna be 26 in a few months, and Victoria is my older sister.
Rett syndrome is a mutation of the MECP2 gene. That's a master gene that controls all body parts, essentially.
And there are different types of mutations in the MECP2 gene. Some are more severe, cause more severe issues compared to others, but they all revolve around the function of the central nervous system and the peripheral or the autonomic nervous system.
She has difficulty walking. She has an odd ambulatory gait, like her feet are wide out. She kind of almost walks like a penguin, but not really, and she can trip. So someone has to be close with her when she's walking, and she lost the ability to safely go up and down the stairs. But things like that, like it's slowly declining. She had a regressive phase when she was really young, where she lost some skills, she lost some words that she did have. She lost the ability to hold a cup. She used to feed herself with a spoon and a fork. She lost those abilities, and she lost the ability to say the words that she did have.
She lost, a lot of things. She lost her ability to use her fingers purposely to feed. She lost her ability to speak. So, Mom was saying that she had words. She had several words, and she lost that ability very quickly. And then as she lost the ability to get around as well, she used to scoot. She never walked until later. So all those skills were lost, and as she lost those skills, she became more self-injurious.
I'm sure she was frustrated.
So she was very frustrated because she realized, what was going on, what was happening to her. Well, I think she knew that something was going on and didn't know what, didn't understand. Neither did we. It's frustrating for her and for us. We didn't know what she had for quite some time. It took about 3 years before a genetic test was developed. Heather thought initially it could have been autism or autism related because some of the symptoms overlapped. But because there wasn't a genetic test, there wasn't any definite diagnosis. So it kind of kept us in suspense, but also Heather went to a lot of different physicians to try and find answers, and it was frustrating for her. She did all the legwork initially because I was employed by the NIH and I was a postdoc and I was in the lab a lot. So Heather was left having to deal with all the difficult behaviors, but also the difficult challenges of trying to figure out what those behaviors meant.
But your mom is the true hero, because she understood that your sister was communicating when other people didn't. Those of us who were around Victoria knew that she was communicating with us, with her eyes, with her squeals, with her outbursts, whatever, we knew. And your mom became the real interpreter for Victoria.
I'd been going to the pediatrician since she was a little baby because she screamed all the time. She didn't want to be held, but you couldn't put her down.
Victoria cried a lot. And your mom, being her, she's always wants to be connected to people, and we would go places and we would just pass your sister around because she cried constantly. It was a very inconsolable crying.
Well, I went through 3 pediatricians till I found one that didn't think it was all in my head. And then he actually ordered some tests and found out she had food allergies, for one thing. That's why she had bleeding bowels as a baby. For her first birthday, she had an endoscopy and a colonoscopy. Quite a birthday present for her birthday, just happened to be the way it was scheduled. And then we had infants and toddlers coming in a little after she was a year old. It's an early intervention program for children that have delays or disabilities under the age of 3. It's a home visiting program, and we had a teacher, physical therapist, occupational therapist, psychologist. We had the social worker. We had everybody in the program working with Victoria because they saw her losing skills, and they were concerned. They hadn't seen that before either, so they weren't sure. I took her to like play groups with the moms group. I was part of a moms group, so I tried to have her around normal children, so unquote normal. We did that several times a week just to see if she saw other kids doing it, other kids, maybe she'd do it. Didn't really work, but it was a nice place to get some support for me. And because moving here, we had no relatives, we had no established friends, we had no established routines. We just, I didn't even know where the grocery store when we first moved here.
I got involved with the moms group and eventually took over that moms group, became the leader of it, and ran these ads in the Penny Saver. And one day, Heather, who had just moved here from Canada, called. There we had played these play groups, and so she came to the play group the next day or so, and from that moment we've been like best buds.
I actually built a whole social network for not just for her but for us. So Mom is to be given a lot of credit for that. So all the people that you know here, most of the people you know here, are because of Mom and her tenaciousness, I guess, to find people to help and to connect with.
So I had been taking her to a developmental pediatrician because our pediatrician said her development's not typical. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what it is, but it's not what I would expect to see for a growth curve for a child. This is around 2. So we started seeing a developmental pediatrician at Kennedy Krieger, associated with Johns Hopkins, and
Paul Lipka,
and we did a series of tests. We did, personality testing, which you can with a nonverbal 2-year-old, but, did a series of tests and screenings and all that stuff. And as we continued going back on a regular basis, during one visit, it was when her hand wringing had started, like that. It wasn't there initially, but it started developing around 2, and it was just this ringing and this constant pulling on her face and just this pattern of non-functional hand use. And he had said he had just been to a conference the previous week with a Dr. Rett, who was discussing the symptomology in girls with the regression and the certain typical hand movement and the lack of verbal communication.
And also the smiling. There was a lot of smiling too when she wasn't upset, which was another sign that Dr. Rett had noticed in the women who were suffering from this syndrome. So.
And they had just developed a test in '99, genetic screening, so Dr. Lipka asked if he could draw Victoria's blood to have it tested, and with some challenging situations, they got her blood taken, involving a papoose to hold her down. But then I think 4 weeks later, we got the letter.
They found a mutation that was specific to that gene, which was indicative that she had this genetic disorder. It was devastating for a lot of reasons to both of us, because there wasn't any treatment for it. There wasn't a cure for it, and there wasn't any treatment for it either. So you have a double hit there. So, and then you hear about people who have girls with Rett syndrome, and some die at a very young age. So we were suddenly put into a whole different category in reality.
And we knew something wasn't right with Victoria. But there's one thing, thinking there's something wrong, and then having it in black and white, that it's permanent and it's not going to change and you're not going to be able to fix it.
A lot of these tears are for your parents, because to have a child who's saying like Mama and Dada, and now she doesn't talk anymore. and they don't get to hear those things.
Well, we were deathly frightened when we found out we were pregnant again. And him not understanding what his sibling, what Victoria was, what was going on with her. It was no way to explain that to a baby.
We are 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days apart, actually. When I was born, she was just being diagnosed with Rett syndrome the very month I was born. So for me personally, mom and dad, when I was being raised, they were also trying to figure out what was wrong with Victoria. Victoria was very prone to violence and outbursts that were severe. She would bite herself till she bled. She would scream very loud. She would smear feces on the wall. She would bang her head.
Victoria eventually ended up on medication to keep her calmer and stop hurting herself. But when Aaron was little, it wasn't that way at the time. So he got to see the full brunt of Victoria's wrath against her. So Aaron saw the worst of Victoria. And so he didn't know how to adjust with being in a normal environment with normal children, and it was a very difficult time for him. And then Nathaniel came along, and then the mothers group that I joined when I first moved here rallied around our family, and they rallied around and they were here every day, Monday through Friday, to look after the kids so that I could not miscarry Nathaniel. So luckily I carried him to term, but at that point I realized I needed help in the house for Victoria. I couldn't do it by myself. And so I started calling Senator Barbara Mikulski. I started calling the local county representative. I just started getting on the phone call, called State Department of Developmental Disabilities Administration. No, we can't help you. We can't help you. I just kept calling. I had nothing else to do but phone people, and I did every day. Yeah, she started going to school at 3 years old. She had an individual education plan, and at 3 she went to school 5 days, half days. And then kindergarten was half days, and then first grade was all day.
I know that when Victoria was at Harford Hills, which is really an incredible thing, what your mom was able to do. I was very fortunate to be part of the team process, to be there and advocate for that to happen, so that she would have that time with typically developing peers, because as you know, your sister's super social. And she didn't want to just be at Ridge Ruxton where people were not communicating and people were medically fragile.
She started out in a regular school in a special classroom, and then there wasn't sufficient support for her. And they had to put her to a level 5 school, which is a public separate day school, and all the children in that school have disabilities.
So she went through.
Victoria was one of the first children to be put on a Maryland Community Pathways waiver, which was a medical assistance waiver, because they only funded adults through medical assistant waivers. And I said, well, I need help. They're like, we don't provide that. I said, well, that's not a good enough answer. So they came up to the solution to provide. It was, I think, first we got like 15 hours, 2 hours in the evening until she went to bed after school, and then some hours on the weekend. And so we've had help in the house since you were born, Ethan, and since we got approved for the care when I think Nathaniel was a month old. So I spent my entire pregnancy advocating for help.
I've had a real good experience with her as a nonverbal person.
Yep.
So she understands a lot, even though she's nonverbal. She understands a lot.
Yeah. About that.
Okay, when you're talking to her, a lot of people think that they out of it. No, she knows. It's a lot that people think people with special needs like that can't do, but they understand. They got feelings just like we do. She understands a lot.
You know, she knows what's going on. You know, she's very aware. You know, she like when I'm cracking a joke or doing something, she'll laugh. You know, she'll smile. You know, There's been plenty of times where she's like literally walked up to me, you know, her little wobble, and stepped on my foot and just stood there and then laughed in my face as I'm like, ow, my foot, Victor, my toe, like, and she's just like like laughing. So like, you know, she's a little comedian.
God.
She has really wonderful receptive language. She
understands what's being said to her.
She gets it.
And she can tell if people like her or not in an instant.
Yeah.
You know, although she can't speak with words like we can, you know, she talks with her emotions and her other abilities, and you know, so.
How so?
I mean, she'll let you know when she's having a bad day. She'll let you know when she's having a good day. She'll let you know when she doesn't like something. She'll let you know when she loves something, you know.
Victoria can sense it. Victoria's a teacher. I mean, she teaches people patience and understanding and how to listen with their eyes, because she's nonverbal, but she's communicative. You just have to learn her language.
I think she shows people themselves within her and how they interact with her. And yeah, I think her lessons are different for each person that she sees and touches.
I think that she is extraordinarily empathetic, and she is very affected by the people around her. She energetically understands everything that's going on. She does have her own system of communication. She's very clear about what she likes and doesn't like. And I mean, think about her boundaries, right? Like, if we could only all have boundaries like Victoria, like, she's very clear about what she wants and what she doesn't want. And she just really is very pure joy and love, because I mean, she just radiates it. She has connected so many people just by her presence, which is amazing. I mean, think about how many people have come into your life because of your sister. How many experiences we've all got to have because of her. So, yeah. I did not realize this was going to be like this.
I think for me, one of the big ones was she became a Girl Scout. She was so happy being a Girl Scout and being part of that Girl Scout troop for a while. The girls, accepted her, they loved her, and Victoria was part of that. And of course, doing the Girl Scout cookie drives,
I think my most prideful things for Victoria was when the grade 5 class of Hartford Hills, where she had been integrated, won the School Inclusion Award. And half of her 5th grade class came to the award ceremony, the dinner that the ARC put on, the ARC of Baltimore.
Yeah.
And they all stood up there in front of all these adults, saying that acceptance is just a given. They didn't have to be taught to accept Victoria. They just did.
Yeah.
So,
when we'd have pancakes on Sundays, and I'd wake up and she'd just be sitting with Dad. Dad be doing work for school, and she'd just be like sitting with him, watching him do his work, and just putting her head on his shoulder. She's a daddy's girl, always. Never mom. No, she loves mom, but always that. And so she would just, all of us being here together, she'd smile, watch cartoons, her going out. I used to be so embarrassed when I would go out to the mall with her, because she'd be like, not screaming, but she'd be like, yelling in her own way, but with joy, because she was out, she was with everyone else. And, that used to like bother me, because I'd be embarrassed. I was young. But, looking back, she was probably just like happy to be out, having a good time walking around the mall, so. Cascade Lake, we'd go to Cascade Lake. She'd like going there. Yep.
I know when I see her, the look on her face, it makes me feel good. Because she's like, oh, Lord, here go Missy boy. It's like, we go out. We used to go out a lot. We would go in stores and walk around. And one thing amazed me about her is like if I went and took her in between clothings, and I was looking at something, I had her beside me, but I let her arm go. She would wander off. She some kind of way made her way through the clothing racks to get to the main floor and start walking.
She scurried away.
Yeah, but she didn't knock anything down, but she managed to get through there. You know how they have the racks in there? She managed, and this happened on a regular, or like sometimes if we walking, she'll like look at me and she'll start walking fast and bump into me. And so that's my way. I'll turn around to her and start walking backwards and say, come on, come on, come on. And she just starts smiling and walking towards me. So that was amazing that I took her in a place where a lot of stuff were obstacles, and she managed to get out it without knocking anything over and fast.
Yeah.
I mean, Victoria used to do this thing where she loves Sophie so much. Sophie loves her. I mean, whenever we were together, which was tons and tons, daily, Sophie would have bites all over her little bald head because that's how Victoria would kiss her. And it was kind of like Sophie actually understood because they were little babies, and she kind of got that Victoria was really loving on her rather than like trying to hurt her. I would say if I was going to encapsulate anything, like the truth of life is how we take care of one another. The other thing that I've learned is that you don't have to be blood related to be family. But I think that in a broader sense, I think as a society and as humans, I think that how we treat one another, and if there is some sort of higher power for real that we ultimately will be judged on, it's going to be judged on how we treat one another. Because Victoria can't walk through life alone. Like, Victoria needs all of the people around her in order for her to literally continue to live. But that's not a burden. That's our responsibility as human beings to one another. And so those types of interactions and caring for one another should not only be reserved for Victoria. We should all be treating one another that way. Your parents couldn't be where they are without the support of other people. I couldn't be where I am without the support of other people. So I think Victoria is this incredible being who has brought all these people together to support. I mean, think about the staff who, because of Victoria, get to have a living, and you young men who get to walk into the world with compassion and with a completely different lens of how the world should work. We are responsible for one another. I guess for me, that's the biggest message, is that we are responsible for one another.
She's a sweet, loving girl. She's got a heart of gold. She is so loving. She cares so much for people. And she lights up the room when she smiles. You know, she comes home for Sunday dinners and she's just beaming. Because like her adult brothers who are away and come home for Sunday dinners, she gets to do that now too because she doesn't live here. So she's doing what any 28-year-old adult woman can do. She's being independent. She's got a dignified life. She's being supported for her needs and she's thriving. She's done fabulous and she's